The final cost to Albertans for the Keystone XL pipeline will be about $1.3 billion as the provincial government and TC Energy announced the official termination of the project yesterday. The pipeline was intended to carry 830,000 barrels of crude oil a day from Alberta through Saskatchewan and Manitoba down to Nebraska, connecting with the original Keystone that runs to American refineries on the Gulf Coast. The Canadian leg of the project had been under construction for several months with around 1,000 workers in southeast Alberta. The question is, what now? Joining me now is economist Jason Childs. Hi, Jason.
Hi.
This was announced first back in 2005. The battle to try to get this done was a long one. What happens now?
Well, it's not a lot is going to happen right now. I mean, the money has been spent. It's what economists refer to as a sunk cost. At this point, it seems highly likely that both TC and the government of Alberta will just have to walk away and write that money off. It's spent. You're never going to get it back. We've got to find another project or another thing to be doing, and losing those 1,000 or so jobs right now in Alberta is really not good news.
We know this was expensive for Alberta, but how does it impact us here in Saskatchewan?
Well, it doesn't impact us a whole lot directly. I mean, we are going to lose that little bit of construction activity that would have taken place, depending on how big it was. Could be 1,000 jobs for a period of time, could be less. But what it does mean is the differential between what we can get for the oil we produce and say what we would get if it were easy to transport. We're going to pay that cost, and that gap between Canadian oil and West Texas Intermediate is going to remain large and may even grow.
There were protests of Line 3 in northern Minnesota earlier this week against Enbridge's plan to rebuild that line from Alberta down to Wisconsin. How does a canceled Keystone XL affect future projects?
It makes them much less likely to succeed. It makes them much less likely to take place. We've seen that protest and objection to these kinds of projects, and not just oil and gas projects, but a variety of different projects, has become increasingly successful. And that makes it harder to do these projects and makes private sector particularly much less likely to try and take them on. So we're going to see, I think, fewer of these projects going forward, fewer of them even leaving the drawing board, and even fewer, seeing the kind of investment needed to make them happen. And again, if we see Line 3 getting shut down, that's another barrier to us getting product to market.
What does any kind of uncertainty around oil transport do for the rest of the financial markets?
Well, it does reduce the incentive to invest in traditional energy stocks, fossil fuel energy stocks, and that's going to roll everything back. It's going to diminish our ability to make payments or get payments for our fossil fuel products that we are producing, and that makes up a huge chunk of Canadian exports. So what that does is it puts negative pressure on the Canadian dollar, or less positive pressure, if you like, and we'll maybe see that Canadian dollar sort of soften a little bit as a result.
All right, thank you so much for your perspective, Jason.
Thank you.